Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto's News with me, your host Crypto, and I am going to share with you a little bit today about an Ethereum related subject, so hopefully that is of interest to you, and a letter that was written in regards to something that had to do with this. So yeah, be sure to stay tuned. I think it's an interesting thing, especially for developers or people just interested in the goings on in Ethereum, and I like to keep you guys updated. If you prefer to watch videos about Bitcoin signaling or about Circle's mobile app, that kind of news, make sure you watch today's other videos. And yeah, I'll be back again tomorrow. This will be the last one for today, but I think this one's a pretty cool topic because, as you know, all these cryptocurrencies, especially when they have to do with mining or smart contracts, they're liable to be subject to spam attacks and different kind of hacker attacks that can halt them, right? And since you have the main network for Ethereum running, you also have these test networks that run that developers can basically practice their code on before it goes live on the live networks to make sure that any security flaws are fixed, any performance issues are fixed, whatever it is. It's like where you run your beta or your alpha really first before you do anything. So on February 24th, there was suddenly this huge spam attack against the test network, Ropsten, for Ethereum. And on the test network, somebody kept spamming these multi-transactions, basically the same thing, and slowed the network to a crawl, which kind of sucks if you're developing, because now you can't really work your software out right in the right kind of environment. So out of nowhere, yesterday, suddenly this new Kovan test network was announced from the developer of Parity, which is one of the main platforms for connecting to the Ethereum network that you could run. The other one being the Mist software that is ran by the other side of the F team. But anyway, Parity was actually quite the good software back when there were a bunch of different hacks after the DAO attack, because it was not liable to some of the attacks that Mist was. So when the Ethereum network was spammed to a halt by some attackers, at one point, Parity was really the only thing that kept running without coming to a complete halt. So they became pretty respectable. So yesterday, they announced that they're going to be releasing this new Kovan test network, and they're backed by 10 of the biggest companies that are related to Ethereum, including Digix, which is creating a gold-backed token. They've been around for some time and had an ICO last year. And by Melonport, that will allow you to keep your identity client-side and not have to share it on a centralized... So like if you have your username and password over there at the Facebook headquarters and that gets hacked, suddenly that's one central point of failure versus just yourself, right? Or like if Google gets hacked, it's one central place versus having it on your end. But anyway, yeah, Melonport, I encourage you to look that up. It's actually really interesting stuff. Yeah, basically they're creating that. No, am I confused? Melonport might be the other investment platform. No, their investment platform. I screwed up. I'm thinking of Uport.me. Dang it. Anyway, so they announced Kovan, and Kovan is going to work in a different kind of way, because before you could mine, or you still can, I suppose, you can mine this test network Ether, and that's what you use to run the software. That's what creates it. But now you will be able to get it from a slow drip faucet that is held at a central Parity ran location, basically. Will allow them to control things a little bit better, and 4-second block times that are a little more invariable as to how the time between blocks is right now, inconsistently. Anyway, it says that there's also a 3 to 6 times improvement in transaction throughput on modern processors, said a statement, and a future integration of dust protection EIP 169 is planned, securing Kovan against state bloating attacks, so it won't be liable to these kinds of attacks in the future. And the partners include also Maker, Etherscan, some names you might know here, some I don't, like Grid Singularity, which sounds really interesting. It says here, decentralized energy data application platform. Etherscan will be providing the Kovan blockchain Explorer for the testnet. As far as that. So anyway, that's a bit of news I wish to share when it comes to the releasing of the Kovan. But the announcement of Kovan seemed to have created some sort of controversy because somebody went on Medium by the name of Piper Miriam and wrote out a letter to Gavin and Ethcore, the creators of Parity. And I'm going to go ahead and read it to you guys. Let's see. So I can know what you guys think about this little bit. But it's wow, it's kind of scathing a little bit. Anyway, an open letter to Gavin and Ethcore. And I'll put a link to the whole thing down below. Parity has been a pretty amazing client. In fact, were it not for Parity, the denial of service attacks last year could have had much more serious consequences. I've appreciated the speed of your client and the general reliability and diversity as it has contributed to the Ethereum ecosystem. Thank you. But you guys can do better. I've seen a pattern of behavior that I'd categorize as not playing nicely with others. I've seen a willingness to use underhanded tactics to advance your own interests. You left Go Ethereum team in the dark. You left the Go Ethereum team in the dark about the Kovan testnet, despite having a clear opportunity to do so last Friday. So they didn't tell the Go Ethereum team that this was going to be announced. Your tweet about the consensus fork struck me as a low way to market your product, and you didn't play fair when generating benchmarks for Parity. And the big one that deserves a bit more than a bullet point is your recent blocking of the relicensing of CPP Ethereum. And I remember I was around when I heard this, and I didn't really talk about it on the channel, but people were concerned because Gavin and his team were looking at possibly licensing this kind of software. And if you begin to license the software, the problem is people could use that software now, right? So they could go and just create a really epic version of Ethereum for Intel, and then Intel could go ahead and run that everywhere and just leave the public out of it. So people were saying that, you know, you're licensing out to like the enemy. So there was a lot of controversy that got struck up back then about the fact that Gavin and his team were meeting to possibly license this stuff out there. So yeah, with that said, my understanding is that you, Gavin, and by the way, they eventually decided not to license that, which was lauded by the community. And I'm with that too. My understanding is that you, Gavin, indicated early in the process that he was open to it. But when it came time to sign the paperwork, you stopped responding to communications and eventually hid behind your company Ethcore, who eventually communicated that you would not be signing. First, you wasted months of effort paid for by the Ethereum Foundation. You had every right to decline signing the paperwork, but the way you went about it was dishonest, cowardly, and demonstrated a lack of general integrity. Second, it looks a whole lot like your refusal to sign may have been to ensure that CPP Ethereum did not become a competitor to Parity. It's one thing to refuse based on licensing ideology. We're all entitled to our own opinions about how software should be licensed. It's entirely another thing to hide behind licensing as a way to eliminate your competition. So, what's the deal? I get that there will be competition between clients, but that competition should be done fairly and on a level playing field. And why the secrecy around the Kovan network? I would understand if this was a product launch or something like that, where you're looking for a competitive advantage. But this looks a whole lot more like anti-competitive behavior. And why won't you sign the paperwork to relicense CPP Ethereum? You said you would. Can you not put the success of the overall Ethereum ecosystem above your own short-term personal benefits? The greatest thing I've ever done, I've ever been a part of, were collaboratively and cooperatively. I'd love to see your team turn over a new leaf and demonstrate that you're committed to an open, honest, and fair ecosystem, where the quality and power of Parity stands on its own merit. I'm sure the truth in some of these situations may not be entirely black and white. I'm also sure that you can do better. Please fix the rift that has formed between you and the Go Ethereum team. Show some integrity in how you market your product. Show me that I'm wrong about you. Maybe this behavior is just who you are, but I sincerely hope not. I hope you are something else entirely. And if my picture of who you are is right, I hope you choose to change into something new. A company that is part of this community. A company that chooses to put the community first. A company that inspires respect. A company with integrity. Piper. wow, there's a lot of emotion there. The fact that somebody took time out to write this out as an open letter publicly to Gavin and Ethcore. And yeah, I would love to know what Gavin thinks about this letter, so I am making this video in the hopes that it does reach as many people as possible, because I think integrity is an important thing when it comes not just to a person individually, but also to a company and what they hope to create. Like, are their hearts in a good place? When I met with the Dash team over at the Bitcoin conference in February, and I met the CTO, Ryan, and I met Jeff, I just had such good vibes from them that I knew that their project was going to be a success if they were involved. And you could see the level of passion and commitment and belief in them. And that's really why I began to talk about it. And indeed, when I did, the price began to climb from 14 to like 47, or where it's at now. Hit as high as 50. And so if you're going to support something, I think it's important to look at the characters involved. The whole scene has its heroes and villains, and it's good guys and bad guys, and it's good to know where people stand and where you place your bets. And I think that if you're going to look at things monetarily, you should look at them from a big perspective of helping all, ultimately, when a technology as powerful as Ethereum, rather than personal gain. So yeah, dang it. And yeah, I would love to know your thoughts. Please hit like if you appreciated the content. Thank you for the donations, and I hope you do share more. I do appreciate the generosity, and I send it back to you in the hopes of in the goal of getting you more content out related to cryptocurrency. And lastly, for anybody still watching, I'm not living in this RV. It's just an Airbnb until I find a more permanent place. So if you have a suggestion for somewhere to live in Los Angeles, please let me know and contact me in the email, and I would appreciate it. That's really why I'm here. I'm looking for a nice place to live on a personal note. And I'm happy to be making these videos on pretty good connection here and chilling in this spot in the meantime, and connecting to you guys and writing back to you guys whenever I can and staying involved. But I am busy with a lot of personal stuff, so I apologize if I don't get to you in a timely manner, but I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible if I get the moment and I haven't missed it. If not, resend your thing through my email or in the comments. And I wish you a very, very beginning happy day to your week. I expect a lot of volatility going into the ETF decision next week, and I'll be here reporting to you guys. And if anything happens in the moment, I'll be sure to record it with my phone and upload it ASAP. Crypto out. Take care, guys.